The November 3rd, 2025 meeting of the North Olmsted Building and Zoning Board of Appeals will come to order at 7 o'clock. If everyone could please stand and join me saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Ms. Wilson, if you could please call roll.
Mr. Papato?
Here.
Mr. Ammons?
Here.
Mr. Mackey?
Here.
Ms. Glotno?
Here.
Meeting minutes, if everyone's had a chance to review the meeting minutes, we have September 22nd and October 6th. Any comments on?
No comments. No comment.
Okay. Could I have a motion to approve?
Move we approve the meeting minutes for September 22nd and October 6th, 2025.
I second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? No? All right, so our meeting minutes are approved. Okay, for all business before the board, each board member has viewed the premises involved in the case. Each case will be judged on the physical situation peculiar to itself, so that in no way is a judgment rendered considered to be a general policy affecting all properties and situation elsewhere. 3 votes are required for approval. Our meeting procedure tonight, cases will be called in order to the agenda. When your case is called, if you could please come up to the podium here, give your name, including the spelling and address. Also, if anyone present is interested in the case being presented and wants to be heard on that particular case, please come forward at the same time. Give your name and spelling of the name and address as well. So that means that the applicant and anyone who wishes to speak on a particular case when it's called, when we call the case, please come up to the podium and then give the information that we said. We'll swear everyone in. We'll have city staff provide a description of the case and then back to the applicant, and then we'll have any other information from interested parties. So, okay. With that, first item on the agenda is 340-2025 Mercedes Lux at 5854 Stearns Road.
Hi, my name is Mercedes Lux, 5854 Stearns Road, North Olmsted.
Okay. And sir, you wish to speak on this case also?
Yes. Joseph Facino, 5870 Stearns Road.
Okay. Anyone else wishing to speak on this case? Okay. Folks, if I could please swear you in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Ms. Sealy, if you could please give us an introduction.
Sure, this is, excuse me, for an accessory structure or new accessory use. There are 3 variance requests. The first one is a variance to allow an accessory use, a catio, on a residential lot that is not permitted by code. Applicant shows non-permitted accessory use. The second one is a variance to allow part of an accessory structure to be located in the side yard. Code permits accessory structures in rear yards of residential lots. Applicant shows part of the structure in the side yard. Thirdly, 30-foot variance for distance to the side lot line of an accessory structure. Code requires 5 feet. Applicant shows 2 feet. The accessory structure, the catio, is 12 feet by 16 feet with approximately 125-foot run constructed of wood from the window on the side of the house to the backyard. The lot size is 32,670 square feet, 0.75 of an acre. If you're not familiar with a catio is a secured enclosed outdoor space that allows cats to safely enjoy fresh air and sunshine. They are designed to prevent cats from wandering and to protect them from dangers like traffic, predators, and diseases. Catios can range in size from small window boxes to large freestanding structures with multiple levels. Thank you.
Okay. Director Guerrero, if I could put you on the spot for just a minute.
Yes, sir.
A little advice. So this is a little bit different than we've seen before. This is something that a lot of the construction has been done already. We have a variance to request something that's a non-permitted use. And then we have a number of other variants that kind of go with it. So could a little guidance perhaps?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I mean, this is notwithstanding the fact that this structure appears to be at least substantially underway, if not completed, that this will be reviewed in the traditional manner that you would view any proposal. Just assume it's not been built. The fact that it's been built without a permit or without prior, approval of you folks doesn't necessarily change any of that. You're also, there's some area, I mean, there's a couple things going on. Let's pull this back out. You're talking about a use variance, you're talking about an area variance as well. So you really have to answer the first question before you answer the additional questions, whether you're gonna permit the use to start with under the first variance. And then if you do, then whether or not what's proposed would then also require additional variances moving forward. And this was written as a use variance, yes. So the use variance, the definition we have under our own code is use variance allows the use of land that is not permitted in the district in which the property is located. Use variance is a useful planning tool. It gives the board more control than a rezone. The granting of use variance requires the existence of an unnecessary hardship. The factors to be considered and weighed in determining whether a property owner seeking a use variance has encountered an unnecessary hardship in the use of his or her property. Property cannot be used for the purposes permitted in that zone district. The blight is due to unique circumstances peculiar to the property. The use would not alter the essential character of the area, or the adjoining properties would not suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance. The problem is not self-created. The variance would not adversely affect the delivery of governmental services, for example, water, sewer, garbage. I don't think that's the case here. The applicant purchased the property without knowledge of the zoning restriction. The applicant's predicament feasibly cannot be resolved through some other method other than a variance, and the spirit and intent of the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done by granting the variance. So that's the list of things that you should give some consideration to. I understand it's a lot. If you have your outline with you, you can see that that's what the standard is on a use variance. But get through that one first, and if you determine that this is going to be authorized by you folks, then you'd move on to the second and third variances after that, whether or not it's in an appropriate spot and whether you grant a variance for where it's currently located. Is that okay?
Thank you. Okay, if you could please tell us about your case.
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't know I need a permit. Even my neighbor before told me I don't need a permit, but after he reported me. But I didn't know, and the constructor didn't tell me. He said he didn't know that because it's just a catio, it's not some structure. I always lived in the city. I never have a single family home, and that's why the purpose was we moving over here for my son and for my cats have a. That's why I choose that property, because it's big enough to make that catio for my cats, because I would like to have outdoor place but also keep them safe over there. And as I didn't know it cannot be over there, so if we can move away from his fence, like he said, I would do that, but I didn't know I need a permit or anything like that, so I'm sorry.
Thank you. Sir, anything to add?
Yeah, I'm not opposed to the actual catio.
Well, hang on one second. Ma'am, if you could step over a little bit, if you could speak in the microphone because it gets recorded.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to the actual catio, nor necessarily the location. It's just kind of the way it was built and the proximity to the property line. As it sits right now, there's no way that even a small person could get between the structures and my fence. I mean, I don't care if they're on that side, but I'm just asking that, you know, she has to keep it to 5 feet off, just as any other project is required. It's a significant structure. It goes from one end to the other. It could also be like a conduit for fire because it's made out of wood. I'm also, you know, kind of questioning with the proximity to my property line and just the way it was built. The contractor that built it didn't really do the research. I'm kind of worried about the snow load on that size of a roof with that minimal of a pitch. You know, being even within the 5 feet, you know, that 5 feet of the property line, you know, there's gonna be a lot of watershed. Now, the properties are designed for the water to kind of hit the little swales towards the middle of the properties, kind of let them flow back towards the creek. I don't have a problem with the water. But the way it's set up now with the pitch of the roof and the type of roof, any water on that roof's literally either gonna shoot, depending on how hard it's coming, directly and hit my fence, prematurely, deteriorating my fence. Or if there's enough watershed, it's gonna shoot over my fence just because of how close it is and the elevation. I'm worried about the snow with it being an open structure. We're gonna get a lot of snow. The wind's gonna blow underneath it and freeze it. We're gonna get our typical Ohio days where it's, 20 below zero one day and 80 the next. It's gonna start to thaw, then it's gonna freeze, and it's gonna start to thaw, and this thing's gonna shoot off in one big sheet. I don't think the contractor used the proper roofing. It wasn't engineered. It doesn't meet the snow load requirements for Ohio, as well as, being structurally sound. Like, cool, again, I'm not opposed to the catio, but it's gotta be built right. There's already a stick that fell from one of the trees that literally has already penetrated the roof of this structure. So I just wanna make sure it doesn't prematurely deteriorate my fence, because I've had to go through a lot in the city for my fencing with variances, permits, costly fencing just to, put up the fences, surveys. So yeah, I just asked that it be kept the minimum distance per the ordinance, I believe it's 5 feet, off the property line, and just that it's built properly. I don't want it to attract unwanted animals from the woods, because it is kind of, again, she had a contractor build it. I don't think anything was engineered or designed. He was some young kid. I'd mentioned it to a couple times, that it needs to be off the property line. He said he talked to her. I spoke with her and asked her about the roofing situation, what was gonna be on there for gutters. And the kid just kind of chuckled and said, oh, well, it's up now, I'll be finished today. And if she wants to pay me more, then I can move it. So that's when I told the kid, I'm like, well, listen, I don't know where she is, and you're the contractor. He measured it out. It was from the big structure to my fence was 16 inches. I said, well, you need to figure something out. Like, I mean, either we need to come up with a resolution by the end of business, or I'm gonna have to call the building department, because there's no way for myself, and she's smaller than me, so I'm the one that's responsible. That my fence is 12 inches into my property, which means if she's 16 inches off, she's like 4 inches away from my property line, technically. There's no way, if I ever have to get like where it sits now, there is no way, and that's probably more than 2/3 of my fence line. I can't get between there to do any sort of maintenance, pressure washing, sealing, and she can't even fit between them. Like, so even if she wanted to take care of the maintenance, and I'm not trying to get a ticket for noxious weeds. If it comes down to it, I can't get there to maintain it. She can't fit between it to maintain it where it sits now. And then what am I supposed to do? I'm required to maintain my technical property. So I don't have an issue with the catio. I just feel it needs to be a little bit better quality, and it does need to be the 5 feet off the property line. Aside from the other stuff in ordinances or whatever you guys' requirements are, like I said, I'm just more worried about, the proximity to the property line and damages and difficulties in being able to maintain. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Until he was my constructor, when I moved over here, he even told me I can use his fence to put, because usually catio tunnels run on the fence, not building a structure for him. Just since he's not my contractor, his opinion is changed for everything, and I know he doesn't like the cat. But I just would like to, so that part where they coming out from the window for the tunnel, we can make it smaller, so it's get away more from his fence, which is actually look like my fence because he built it upside down. And where he's saying his fence gonna be damaged is an old fence. He put it from the other side. And even I told him, if you ever get damaged, I gonna fix it for you. But he didn't care. After we don't speaking, because he was my constructor when I moved here. But so the constructor did a drawing, so we could move the whole things away 5 feet from the property line. Okay. Just until it's not past my deck, which is just a few feet, but we're gonna make it a bigger space between the fence, so it's gonna get skinnier or tinier. Okay.
Okay.
Thank
All right.
you so much.
Thank you. Ms. Healy, any comments from the building department?
It's a very unique situation. We have not had a catio asked to be built, or this is the first one that we've had a complaint about. So it's not something that's in the code. It's not something that you can review like you would review an animal shelter, or you would review a chicken coop for zoning. It's just something that's not in our code, so it's not permitted. You wouldn't review it. I review it as a storage building because it's not a shed. I mean, so it's very unique. So when I did the review of it, I just basically did it for what typically accessory structures are, like a trellis or a gazebo that needs to be 5 feet from the property line and also needs to be in your backyard. So her structure does start from her side yard. It is her property, I believe, is only 5 feet. Her house is only 5 feet off the property line. So whatever she does next to her house is going to be close. But they have you seen in her proposal? There's a couple of different proposals, but mostly they will take it off as far as they can from the fence line, so it will be greater than 5 feet from the property line, maybe to help with the water issues. If a permit is issued, then building inspectors will take a look at it. I'm not quite sure about snow load and things like that because it's not really a structure that gets reviewed for that kind of stuff normally in the building department. I think that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Grow?
Nothing at this time. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Board members, questions for applicant, witness, or city staff?
Yeah, I have a question, I suppose, for Director Grow. Would the catio be considered an accessory structure impacting on the utilization of square footage in the yard? And was that issue reviewed at all by the building department?
Mr. Chairman, if I can yield to.
I had thought about reviewing that, and I did review it, and I did discuss some things with Lynn, Ms. Wilson, and we did discuss a few things, and we went, and then also with the law department, and we decided to go for the use variance, that it was a different use that's not permitted by code. We could add, could have added the structure. It is, she also, I think, may have an additional shed on her property, so then would be 2 structures, but it's not a typical storage building. You could have many accessory structures on your yard. You can have a swimming pool, you can have a deck. They're all different accessory structures. You can have trellises, you can have gazebos. So to treat this as a storage building, I'm not sure if that was the way we decided to go. So we decided to use it as a use that's not permitted. Because it's not listing that as one of the uses that are permitted on your yard.
It is sort of an elevated walkway, but for cats.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
But it's actually 2 things. There's the walkway and then the building
Right.
also. So that
So
would, sorry.
yeah, I guess the question comes down to, and to the legal counsel, the additional structure at the rear of the yard would be an accessory structure, I'm supposing, or would it not?
Well, I suppose
Your
if
opinion.
approved, because we don't have that particular use, yes. If you say that you're going to grant a use variance, at that point, it would be deemed an accessory structure. I think that's an appropriate interpretation. And then that structure, if you've answered the first question in the affirmative, then you can analyze whether it's too close to the side yard. I suppose you could calculate square footage for accessory structures in the backyard at that point. But I think it's really kind of a twofold question. You don't get to side yard setback and lot coverage issues until you determine that it's a permitted use, that you make the use variance and allow
Right.
it to even be done.
So, in considering the use variance, variance number 1, we're not really considering the size of the structure or anything like that. Simply the fact that it's a new use of the land.
It's a non-permitted use.
Right.
It is new. It's not a permitted use in this district. Correct.
Okay.
The size of it is more of a question as to, and the height and the setback are more area variance questions.
Area variance. I want to try and work on the first use variance.
Right. Whether considering the unique circumstances, the property could not be used for the purpose of to put to reasonable use for purposes permitted in the zone district. The plight is due to unique circumstances. The use would not alter the essential character of the area. The problem is not self-created. The variance would not adversely affect government service delivery. Applicant purchased the property without knowledge. The applicant's predicament feasibly cannot be resolved through some other method other than a variance, and the spirit and intent of the zoning code would be observed and substantial justice done by granting the variance. I mean, that's the use variance.
So it,
Looking at it.
it seems to me that in short, what you're saying is, the use variance unto itself is simply the notion of a catio, okay, permitting a catio on the property regardless of where it's constructed,
That's right.
how it's constructed.
Correct.
Okay, and then the area variances are going to strictly pertain based upon our initial decision on a use variance. And the area variances will then depend on how we view the current state of that structure
Well,
and its positioning.
correct, because she's asking for a variance, as I suppose as built, is it's here, so we know what she's we're not really. You don't give somebody a break because they built it without getting the variance request, but
Right.
you now understand exactly what she's asking for because of where it sits.
Right. Okay, that's all the questions I have.
Okay, I have a few to follow up with that too, so you get to work hard tonight. So is the catio, do we consider that whole, the building and the tunnel structure is one? We're not looking at those two things separately. That's, that whole thing is one.
I think that in and of itself, it's the combination of the both components of it. They're connected. They're one structure.
Okay.
Okay.
Ms. Seeley, has a permit been applied for to date?
Yes, she did come in after the fact, after an inspector went out there, took some photos. I believe she did come out and apply for it, and it was denied, obviously. And then this is where we are today. Double check.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure she did apply.
And Director Earl, one more question. So the applicant has mentioned in the packet and then also here that she would be willing to shift the location of that so that it would conform. How do I understand we need to address the use variance, but then do we do the use variance and then possibly table to, if it gets moved, then we don't have to,
Yeah, I mean, if the
the
use
other
variance is not granted, you don't really have to do.
Right.
They'd be moot.
right. But if the use variance is granted and the applicant is willing to move the
Right.
structure,
You could certainly give consideration to tabling it to see if she could get more specific drawings that deal with the new location that show compliance, because then she might not need a variance.
right.
Yeah, she could bring herself through a new submission into conformity with the code and obviate the need.
She'll never get to conformity with the code because of her side lot line is, her house itself is only 5 feet from the property line.
Oh.
So the structure next to it, she's never going to be in the
In the
side
rear
lot line.
yard- the
But the
rear
rear
yard?
yard, she can move it over and conform to the rear yard to be 5 feet off.
She'd still need
Just a
some
side yard, she can't have the
some
structure.
portion of a variance for a distance based upon the location, correct, of the house to the side yard. However, she could go around the corner and get some conformity to that compliance.
Right, which she hasn't, yeah. And she did apply for a permit.
I'm sorry, did apply?
did, yes.
Did apply, okay.
So she'd still, if you wanted to table it, to come back to narrow the variance for an adequate set of drawings that showed exactly what was taking place, that would be acceptable.
Okay. Would we table the entire case or?
No, I think you got to get to the first question.
We have to
There's
get
no
past
point in
the first
having this person go back and redesign the entire thing and then come back and say, well, we're not going to let you do it anyways. Makes no sense to me. It's not fair. So if she needs the direction first as to whether or not the board is choosing to grant this use variance, and then if so, table the second and third variance pending a resubmission, or perhaps she can get into modified compliance.
Right.
Does she
She did submit to option 1 and option 2, two different drawings of what they would do to how she would move it. I mean, maybe we just pinpoint it to which option. If the use does get approved, then you pinpoint it to which option and then hold her to that option.
One moment. I mean, I guess that's your determination. If you wanted more time to evaluate that after passing that threshold question, you certainly could do so. And then if you had further clarification on these particular options that are being presented, I mean, that's up to you. If you don't want to proceed with 2 and 3, variance 2 and 3 tonight, so that you can more carefully evaluate this based on the initial threshold question, you could do that.
Does everyone on the board understand that? So,
Yeah.
okay. Any other questions for city staff or for applicant or the neighbor?
I guess my question would be, since the structure is already sitting in the back, could the tunnel be placed like on the driveway side at all to access the enclosure? Because on the side of the house, we're never gonna get the 5 feet, correct? We're never
Correct.
gonna get the 5 feet away from the property.
Yeah, no, if you're asking me, I do not know. I've not researched that option.
Hang on, you need to come by the microphone if you can, please.
Yeah, sorry, there is no way. My other neighbor told me I can do over there, but that is very narrow area too, and there is.
So the driveway side still wouldn't give you 5 feet away from the other neighbor? If this would move, like,
I cannot go in with my car then, because the
Okay.
garage is behind, so I cannot go under the tunnel.
Okay.
That's why it's the only way, and I already paid the contractor $13,000 for that, and yeah, I'm taking care of my son and my mom, so it's really difficult, and I didn't know I need that. So it's only just when it's come out from the window and until don't pass the deck, and we right away can move. So it's just a short a part where it would be 2 feet away, and the rest of it, everything can move far away from
The building also.
yeah, the building, but building is have a lots of place to move around. Only just this one place next to the house until it's done past that. After we can move it, yeah.
How many cats are you planning on housing?
I have 5 cats.
So, and you need this entire structure for 5 cats? Is that what you're saying? Can't make it smaller if we needed to?
I mean, the tunnel, I really need the tunnel so they can go in and out. And of course, after that,
Oh,
they're
I
not
see.
even allowed to out. But if you want, we can do the structure smaller. But we can do that. But it's not that big, I think. But we can do smaller if you want that.
Mr. Chairman, I mean, there's a reason we don't have these things in the code. I mean, this is a pretty elaborate setup on a pretty small lot. You can't move it to the other side of the house because, you know, there's an access point for this cat. I mean, it's an extension. It's like an extension of the house. We would, if, you know, anything attached to a house that has an ingress or egress point, we'd call it a deck. We'd call it a, you know, it's not a deck. We'd call it a patio. Yeah, I understand. There's cats going in and out. I mean, it's a very complicated arrangement on a very small piece of real estate. You know, you're talking about some of these proposals about sliding it over, cutting it through the middle of the yard. Well, it says 5 feet away, but it's not drawn to scale, so I really don't know. It's difficult to determine what this would even look like. You got a tree in the way. It goes around the tree. I don't know.
That was why I was kind of in favor of looking at the use variance first and then.
I would determine whether or not you think it's a permitted use first, and then let's deal with the second or third question. I mean, it's a pretty sizable structure.
when you look at it in its entirety, it's not.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what's the distance?
It's roughly 125 feet. So in its entirety, it's a roughly around 442 square feet or so.
And what the run? How long is the total?
The run is 125 feet.
125.
Estimated 'cause there's different-
125 feet long.
Times like 2 feet, an estimated, or
else is-
2.5 feet.
What else shows up here that runs the entire length besides a fence? Short of a fence, what other structure shows up that's 125 feet long? You know, it's an unusual arrangement. Yeah.
Ready to move?
So we're getting there. So if we were to, can we vote at two different times, or could we look at the first variance, the use variance, have discussion, and then return back to the other two?
Again, if the first variance doesn't pass, the other two are moot, so it doesn't matter. You're almost obligated to take it in parts.
Okay.
You wouldn't want to take all three questions, one question for all three variances, because you may not want to vote it that way. It just depends. I mean, so I would make a motion to deal with the first variance, have your discussion, have a vote, and then we'll find out what happens next.
Okay, everybody
That's
good with
fair.
that? Okay. Any further comments from either of you on like we said, we're just gonna talk about the use variance first.
Technically, which this actually might support her more than anything. I don't know if it'll hurt or help, but you guys keep trying to go back and forth for the use permit for accessory structure, because there's nothing in the ordinances about a catio. In my opinion, after you being a contractor and everything, it shouldn't technically be a accessory structure. It should fall under you guys' 1135.02E regarding placement of an animal shelter, including chicken coops. It's labeled as animal shelter because technically it's an animal shelter. It's to shelter her animals, to keep them in, versus an accessory structure that could be a deck or a barn or a shed. But then that has its own set of requirements as well. And even, it speaks to like coops and runs, but in your ordinance, the original line, it says your zoning code, that section regarding placement of an animal shelter, including chicken coops, is as follows. So animal shelter was the original. Chicken coops probably got added recently since everybody started going with the chickens. But that would kind of fall in more similar because it's a similar type of thing rather than chickens, which are, livestock or, for, eggs and stuff like that. These are companion animals. That would be the difference. That was my only thing there.
All right, thank you. So, any comments on
No,
that?
we considered those various sections
They
were
don't cover it.
discussed and determined that it would not be applicable
Okay.
based on the definitions used in in other sections that impact that section. So
Understood. Thank you. Okay, if we could have a motion and a second on the first variance request.
I move we approve variance number 1, case 340-2025, Mercedes Lux 5854 Stearns Road.
I second.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Mackey and second by Ms. Glatno. Discussion.
Yeah,
I'd like to start by saying, I think we need to kind of divorce ourselves from the notion that we're looking at the design of this catio and simply look at whether we approve or not approve a use variance to have this type of a structure on the property. Since it's not defined in code, it's a use variance. And, in terms of alternative design features, if we did approve it, the building department would be working with the applicant on that before they came back to another meeting time when those variance requests number 2 and 3 would be tabled until the next meeting. And again, those variances, if they were tabled upon approval of variance number 1, those variances could well change. Okay, and if we were to approve a use variance and say we approved the other 2 of variances, okay, by the time they got through to the building department, we might find ourselves in an impossible situation having approved variances which are not really feasible. So I think if we kind of divorce ourselves from the actual appearance of this, as it's currently in progress in its construction, and just simply look at the notion that this applicant wants a catio on their property. Now, where it's placed and how it's constructed, those are other issues. That's the area variance.
I agree. Yeah, what we're looking at here is since this has never really been voted on before, and for all we know, it may not be voted on for a long time again, but we're still setting a precedent of, are we gonna, would a variance be allowed on this or not? And would someone else sometime from now come back and say, hey, I want a catio, and you allowed this person to have one, I also want one. So we're, we have to, we would have to deal with that, I think, a little bit, or just put some thought into that we're, if we approve it, we're may end up adding more, just steam to another person's request, which I really have no problem with the catio, to be honest with you.
I can only reply to your comment by noting that each and every case is solely distinct. Every case before this board is solely distinct, and there are no precedents recognized. That's been continually stated and put into the meeting minutes on more than one occasion. So my view is to try and to most strictly confine the question to, should we permit the applicant to have a catio to, house and protect her animals? And then how it's constructed is not part of our discussion tonight, really. I mean, even though we have discussed, how she has conceived the project and moved forward without the support or approval of the building department. So I think if we strictly confine ourselves to that one use question, we are making the most correct type of decision.
I agree.
Director Rowe, another question.
Yes.
So we can decide to table without asking.
Yes.
Or we can decide to table.
Because you don't, you would not necessarily have sufficient information. You've got this, and she's got as built and 2 other options, correct? Isn't that how it's set? You got 3 different things sitting in front of you, right. All of which will require some variance. Some of a larger variance than others because of her proposal. So I don't know how you would be in a position to be able to make a determination. It's not what was originally put before you, and then the next 2 options are each one's different, and each one requires some sort of a different variance, which should be properly analyzed and presented to you so that you understand what it is that's being asked. And I think a to scale drawing wouldn't hurt either. I appreciate what's been provided, but it's not really clear as to how that would work.
And additionally, since a permit now has been applied for, buildings would be, drawings would be submitted, and those drawings, since we're over the, whatever the square footage is, the 400 square feet would
Yeah,
definitely
just
require
because
a
she's
building
got a
permit.
use variance doesn't mean you don't have to comply with the code with respect to other aspects of it. We've granted use variances before, and they're very uncommon. We have, but you still have to comply with the code and how you construct it. And if you can't comply with the code and how you construct it, then your use variance isn't going to work.
Okay. All right, everybody clear on all of that? Okay. So as far as tabling the other items, does that has nothing to do with the use?
It does not. The question you have before you now is the question that should be voted on about the granting of the use variance.
Okay.
And then we'll decide what to do next if that passes.
Okay. Ms. Wilson, if you could please call the roll.
Mr. Mackey,
Yes.
Ms. Glotno,
Yes.
Mr. Ammons,
Yes.
Mr. Papato,
Yes. Okay, the use variance to allow a catio on your property has passed, but now we're only partway through, so you can have a seat for a second.
Mr. Chairman, at this point, again, if the board wishes, you can either vote on the remaining variances if you choose and deny them, and then she can go back to plan whatever other plan she wants to submit, which would, you know, she needs to have a substantial change in what she's bringing back. Just don't come back with the same thing. Or simply table them and have her come back with a sufficient detailed plan to show how she's going to comply in total or substantially with the code. I think that's fair. You don't need her consent to do that, but she's, you know, if she wants to vote right now, you can vote no, and then shouldn't have got very far. I think the question that is presented is to table the matter to the next meeting so that she can submit plans to demonstrate how she wishes to. She said she could alter things. This is not a scale drawing that helps us understand how this is going to work, and then appear here at the next meeting to demonstrate what it is exactly that you'll be voting on.
Okay.
I think that's fair.
Okay.
If she wants to be heard on that, she can certainly be. Well, we've already taken a vote on the original. There's no motion on the floor right now, so if you wanted to invite her to speak to that issue, that's fine. Or if you just want to proceed with the motion to table to the next meeting and she can coordinate with building, that's fine too.
Yeah. I just want to make sure she understands
Yep.
which way we're going. So, if you can. So, yeah, come on, back up. So what we're going to do now, so the use of the catio on your property has passed. But the location of it and construction and permit and all that, we have a lot of information and there's a lot of things going on. Instead of voting on it, and if we voted no, in order for you to come back, you'd have to make a lot of big changes. We're going to table the location, the area variances. And then what you'll need to do is come back, go to the building department and say, here's exactly what I want to do. They'll look at it to see how it conforms to code. And if then there are any variances, which there probably will be, that you need, you can come back to another meeting next month or the following month, whenever you have that ready, and then we can vote on exactly what it is that you want to do. Understand?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, if we could have a motion and a second to table items 2 and 3
To the next meeting, please.
to the next meeting. Thank you.
Okay. In case number 340-2025, Mercedes Lux 5854 Stearns Road, I move we table variance requests number 2 and 3 until the next scheduled meeting.
I second.
Okay, thank you. Motion made by Mr. Mackey, seconded by Ms. Glotno. Could please call the roll?
Mr. Mackey,
Yes.
Ms. Glotno,
Yes.
Mr. Papato,
Yes.
Mr. Ammons,
Yes.
Okay. She passes. So if you could get your information together, back to the building department, and then we'll see when it's all ready. Okay? Okay. Okay, next item on the agenda is 341-2025, Dawn and Jennifer Goins at 28456 Alden Drive. Folks, you don't need to sit for the rest of the meeting. You're welcome to go. You're welcome to stay, whichever you prefer. Okay, and anyone wishing to speak on this, if you could please come up to the podium. Okay, yep, go ahead.
Okay, I'm Tim Bennett with Bennett Builders, contractor for Dawn and Jennifer Goins.
Okay, address, please.
Address 27899 Clemens Road in Westlake, Ohio.
Okay, thank you.
Hello. Dawn Goins, 28456 Alden Drive.
Jennifer Goins, 28456 Alden Drive.
William Beckman, 28469 Alden Drive.
William Sheehan, 28480 Alden Drive.
Thank you. If I could swear you all in, please. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Ms. Healy, if you could, please.
Thank you. This is for a new home. It's actually a front and a rear yard setback variance. I apologize for the add-on. There is a 10-foot variance for the front yard setback. Code requires 50 foot. The applicant shows 40 feet. There's also a 5-foot 6-inch variance for rear yard setback. Code requires 50 feet. Applicant shows 44 feet 6 inches. The proposed new home is on a vacant parcel. The previous home had been destroyed in a fire in November of 2023. The current property owner purchased the property in May of 2025. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Mr. Bennett, if you're going to speak for the Goins, if you can, present your case, please.
Yes, as just stated, Jennifer and Dawn purchased the parcel in May of this year, and first contacted us in June. After a few meetings, we aligned and got into a design agreement. Their desires to have single floor living, just an aging in place due to just future needs and current and future needs. With the irregular shape of the parcel, creates quite a pinch point on the right side of the lot due to front and rear setbacks of being 50 feet. The desire is to have bedrooms on one side of the home, common living area in the middle of the home, and then a garage on the other side. The way the prior home had been situated on the lot, driveway had been on the left side of the parcel, and so that was the intent as we started working on a design for the home, as not to we've already, the apron is still in place from the prior home, and demolition left the apron still on the lot. So to reduce another curb cut and work on that side of the lot, we laid out the home this way. When it was becoming apparent to have the bedrooms on that side, we were potentially not going to fit within the front and rear setback, in an effort to try and stay with to one variance. The desire was to bring it forward as opposed to back. When we applied, we had discussions that I believe just got further talked about internally in North Olmsted today. We felt we were 50 feet off the rear as to stay away from a rear variance, and so we brought the home forward a little to get to a 40-foot setback that aligns. There are several homes on the street that do not meet a 50-foot setback, and we also coming to play was with the desire for single floor living and reducing amount of steps in and out of the house. The topography of the lot dips not in the back as you go towards the back of the home, and so the further back we would be, feel there more steps would be out to the backyard. So as a result, we're requesting a front yard setback variance of 10 feet. In addition, with the driveway, in addition to the curb cuts, there is a mature tree in the city right away, and the tree lawn on the right side of the property that if a driveway were to be laid out on that side, it would likely not be able to be kept. And so that was where we landed on our layout on the lot and our variance request.
So just to piggyback off of what he said, one of the designs we looked at was having the driveway on the right-hand side, which would take out, we would have to remove the tree from the tree lawn. Plus, there are a bunch of mature trees on that right-hand side corner, and we would have to cut most of those down, and we're trying to preserve some of the, topography and the trees in the neighborhood, just because the fire that was there before, we are gonna have to cut down a few trees on the property that are dead and burned. So we were hoping to save some of the mature trees on the property as well and not have to cut down the tree lawn tree.
Okay. Tell me, either one.
I live directly across the street, and all the fire trucks were hooked up to the hydrant right in my tree lawn for that fire. What they have proposed here consumes almost the entire width of the lot. In addition, the previous house, if you look at the pictures, you will notice that there was a driveway that went all the way around the back to have back access. And it required an easement for that driveway. If they're not going to have a driveway that goes to a garage on the back of the property, I would say we get rid of the easement for that and let it go back to its original owner, and try to figure out how to get this house to fit on this lot. But because it is such a wide plan, there's no property or open space. If you look at all the homes in the neighborhood, we have quite a bit of space on both sides of each house on their property. And what they're trying to do, as my uncle would say, is trying to get 10 pounds of manure in a 5-pound sack. It's just not going to work the way they have it. Clearly, if they rotated it 90 degrees, it would fit. I would say that there needs to be more planning. I know that there's a decrease in grade at the north end of the lot. But, if you're trying to build your forever home, you're gonna end up, especially on this lot, bringing in dirt and hiring a bulldozer and giving yourself a good level spot to put your home. That's certainly not what they're gonna be able to do here and keep the neighborhood looking the same way. They're trying to bring their house 10 feet forward of where all the other houses in the neighborhood have it. Now, as the gentleman from Bennett Builders stated, that not everybody's at 50 feet exactly. There's nobody that's less than 46 feet. So I would prefer to see a more conforming house on the property. And, it's really too wide. I would suggest moving the garage to the front of the house. Short driveways are great. We live in Ohio, and ice and snow come every year. So the shorter it is, the better. But we'll leave that to the builder to come up with the right architectural design. But it needs to be placed on the lot so it looks the same as the rest of the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I think as it sits now, we don't have a variance here based on
For side yards.
side yards.
Right,
It,
it's
it
just-
actually is code.
Correct, front and rear, correct.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
William Sheehan. I object to the footprint of the proposed home, just like Bill Beckman does. I'm concerned about the setback and the set forward of the house. While there are houses that are shorter than 50 feet, the county map clearly indicates there's nobody close to 40. I can leave this with you, or you folks can look it up yourself on the county website.
We have it, sir.
Okay. The West Park neighborhood is a collection of 3 and 4 bedroom homes with basements. This design is only 2 bedrooms and no basement. It doesn't fit, and I worry about property values. The West Park neighborhood is known for its large front yards and wide spacing between the houses. This will be 5 feet off the property line, and there is a serious pinch point where I may not be able to get anything wider than a tractor, a lawn tractor, between my current deck, which was there when I bought the house and was there when the previous owner bought the house, and where the new house will go, especially with the new back end, which no one told us about till we arrived today. The bare minimum on both the east sides are within law. I fully understand that. But again, the aesthetic of the neighborhood is nobody went that far. They always kept them wider than that. When I purchased my home 4 years ago, there was a large gap between 284.56 and mine 284.80, a very large gap. The proposed footprint is much closer to my home and truly not in keeping with the aesthetic of the neighborhood. Now, I realize I'm starting a brouhaha with my potential new neighbors, but it has to be said.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Seeley, comments from the building department.
I do not have anything to add at this time. Thank you.
Director Grow?
Mr. Chairman, one of the individuals who spoke mentioned an easement on the property that exists for access or something, I believe. Is that a correct statement, that there's an easement on the property?
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, if I...
Yes, that's correct.
It's, one second.
What happened
Mr. Bennett, can you...
Yeah, when I was asking the building department about, when we had our initial survey done, there's a second parcel that was joined with this parcel at some point in the past to create, and before we started laying things out, we were made clear that that was part of the parcel. The setback would, it's right here. It's this sliver, so to speak.
Okay, I see it.
It says parcel 1, parcel 2 here. This was yeah, combined. It was a lot consolidation. I for lack of better terms, I'm not certain of the whole history of it.
Yeah.
But it was joined as one parcel and is considered one parcel.
Okay.
I believe I did hear a story about how it was made so that a prior owner could get a proper driveway to their garage, but we were, we designed with the understanding that this was one parcel altogether with one parcel number.
Okay, okay, I understand. So it wasn't an easement, it was at one point a separate parcel that was consolidated, is what it sounds like.
If I could speak to that point, I had an engineer who does surveying check that out just today. He can find nowhere where that was actually done. Saul Biskin sold the property to Mr. Dragos back in 1963, and he could find no record in the county going back to 1891 where there was actually a link of the properties done. And even up, I think 2016, the deed shows parcel 1 and parcel 2. And I'm not looking to get the property back. I'm just very concerned about how close the new house is going to be to my house. And if they change the design, I'm sure we can work something out. I would hope that you would table this issue until there's more information, and at the very least, an accurate drawing of how the house is going to sit on the property. We had no idea that they were going to use the front yard and the backyard until we walked in right here.
Okay, thank you, sir. Hang on one second. Director Grow, just before we go back to any questions for anybody?
I don't understand what he's talking about. Use the front yard in the backyard. What does that mean?
Just that there's a front and a
There's
rear
two
variance.
Oh,
Is it down to the one now, correct?
it's two.
We have two.
This is the revised one?
Yeah, it's two. There's
Okay,
two.
thank you. The first one had just the one.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, your question.
So before we go back to board members having questions for anybody, if you finish
Any
your
comment?
yeah.
No, I mean, I think there's been a lot of talk about the side yards here that again, I want to advise you are not a part of this discussion. They have submitted plans which are consistent with code. And so that's really not a consideration here for your question, right? Your question goes strictly to the issue of that front yard setback and variance and rear yard variance. It's an odd shaped parcel. I mean, it's we had you don't use other examples. It's not the first time we've seen this happen. We are measuring from different points on the from the building to the lot line, and the lot line might be going like this. So it's. I think we saw that a couple times. I think we saw that with the Walmart with their generator. Remember that one? You had to figure out where you were measuring. I think Kia was another one. Just in the past year, we've seen that happen. So it's not unusual to try to figure out where to take these measurements from when the lot line is zigging and zagging all over the place. It makes it a little bit more of a challenge, but for sure, I do think there's enough information to be able to for you to determine this. I mean, it's ultimately up to you. I mean, this is the plan that's been submitted, and you can proceed from there. I just wanted to clarify on that side yard issue, just to make sure it was stated more than once that that's not really a question for today.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, board members, any questions for the applicant, the witnesses, or city staff?
I have a question for Director Garreau. It's bound to happen. Okay, so we've had a witness testify that on the county deed research that somebody, a professional, allegedly performed. He was informed that the deed on this property shows a notation that the property contains a parcel 1 and a parcel 2, as is noted on this schematic that we were provided with, and also on the county's map that is in color showing setbacks along the street. Is my interpretation or statement correct, sir, that this is then should be considered to be parcel 1 and parcel 2 a legal parcel?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I don't know where the underlying where this underlying lot line description was pulled from. It shows that they're combined on here. That's what that Z is, showing that the two lots are combined. They're under common ownership. At worst, you would have, it's one parcel number. Thank you, Ms. Campbell. It comes up under one parcel number. It's under common ownership. It shows on here that it's combined. So I think that we can assume that it's of sufficient legal efforts have been made to combine this, and it's combined. I don't know. I can't speak to the engineer that was retained by the neighbors, but as of now, I think you should assume that it's combined, or at least it's buildable at a minimum. Whether it was combined or not might not even be the ultimate end of the question. You'd still be in a situation where it's buildable, but I think it's combined based on what we've been presented with.
Okay, that's exactly the answer that I wanted to have defined, and I thank you.
Sure. Sorry,
It's on record
took
now
me too
that-
many
that-
words to explain it, but yes, that's
Absolutely.
I got there.
So I had a question for the city, actually. I think, are we saying that the 10-yard, the rear yard setback, is that?
No, there was a typo on there. What I read was correct. So there's a 10-foot variance for the front yard setback. And there's a 5'6" variance for the rear yard setback.
Is that pertaining just to this corner that's cut off of the house?
Correct, where you
That's-
see how
that's
it's
the only
it
bit?
measures through the parallel, and
Right.
it's running through the
I
house, so
gotcha.
that's where you get the 5'6".
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't the whole house, it was just
No,
that
just
corner.
I mean, it's basically the whole house, but it is that corner that is it's being
Yeah.
affected.
Okay. So. that would be-
Mr. Bennett, question for you. So did you have an actual survey done on the
Yes, I
parcel?
actually have a copy. That's what the house is overlaid. This is done by Wrights Engineering in Cleveland. And they went out and did a site survey.
So they did a boundary survey and
Yes.
topo and everything
Yes,
for you? so
yes.
they-
We haven't advanced to the full topo because we're,
Right.
working on the design, but
Okay, so as far as property limits or property area lines, what you have shown there is
correct.
accurate.
And I have, I have a clean version of this without the plan on it, but it's the exact same thing.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, I wanted to ask the building department, so, what we have in front of us is a representation of how this home is to be, placed in situ and also, configured on the lot.
Correct.
Okay, and are we at the point of seeking a building permit for this now?
Well,
With-
it depends on if everything's approved tonight. I've had many conversations with Mr. Bennett. We've verbally discussed things that I review on a normal zoning review for a new home, such as how high the tightness, how tall the house is, how much it takes up for the whole coverage of it, the square footage of the garage. So we did go over everything I would normally review for a zoning review. They just don't have the drawings completely done yet. I mean, that's the next step. If they don't get this, then they'd have to go back to the drawing board and get another, get some plans drawn that would work. So yes, we have had many conversations, and this is what they're submitting to be approved today.
Okay, okay. So, that answers my question,
Okay.
thank you.
So I have one more then
Sure.
too. So since these are two separate requests, we can vote separately on the front variance and the rear variance?
I think these go hand in hand.
Right.
So in this situation, yeah, you can handle them as one question. You're always free to do multiple votes if you choose, but if you make a motion and they're together, unless one member says, hey, I want to do all separate votes on it, they can get quite lengthy. But this you can't have one without the other. The way the building's currently sited on the lot, they go hand in hand. So you could handle it with one motion.
Okay.
You wouldn't have
Well,
to.
Yeah, that was my.
You wouldn't have to split it.
I guess my question was is if we decided that we didn't want, if we wanted the house pushed back, but we approved the rear setback, we wouldn't need the front variance at all.
If you move the house back,
That would make them.
it would change the variance in the back.
Right.
So it would,
Right.
you could grant the variance in the back and not the front, but if you move the house back, you're gonna have to get another variance in the back because the calculations will all change
Right.
if the whole house moves. Yeah, so I
That just was something to think about if we were just going to increase the size of the front yard a little bit to make it match the neighborhood a little bit better.
I would just stick to the calculation that's been presented. I would be my advice, and just work off of that.
Vote on it the way it is. Yes, I got you.
Okay, any other questions?
I'm good.
Okay, please.
Just one thing. One of the reasons that we wanted to push the house forward 10 feet was because the backyard and the way that we had originally designed it, we had a larger front yard than a backyard just because of the awkward shape of everything. So we wanted to enjoy the backyard and outdoor living and not being able to use, over 5,000 square feet in the front yard and have 2,500 square feet in the backyard that's where we were coming from with wanting to pull the house forward a little bit. So that's all I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we are going to have discussion. Anybody else? I know we had a lot of talk. Anybody else, anything? All right. If we could have a motion on this case, please, in a second.
Gotta find the case number.
Oh, no,
That's the parcel number. Hold on. All right. Case number 3412025, Dawn and Jennifer Goins, 28456 Alden Drive. I move we approve the variances as submitted.
I second.
Motion made by Mr. Mackey and seconded by Ms. Glotno. Discussion.
Personally, I would be in favor giving the odd shape of the lot. I'm always in favor of new construction. We don't have enough of it in our city. Much better than, you know, an empty lot sitting there to cut grass. So, and I think given the topography of the back and, you know, the aging in place needs, I would be in favor.
I agree, you know, the rear setback only really affects a small quantity of the back of the house. That's, you know, sort of just a coincidence that's how it worked out. Pushing it forward, yeah, that's, while I'm not readily, you know, probably available to it, but the fact of the matter is that it's not gonna affect, I don't believe it's gonna affect much. So therefore, I mean, I wish they could deal with it, but given the circumstances and what their wants and needs are, I'm gonna say I think we're gonna have to go with that, or I would have to go with that.
Any thoughts, Mr. Mackey?
Well, I'm looking at the setbacks on the county map, and they are all over the place. We have a parcel adjoining the parcel in question in tonight's case, and the companion parcel, the neighbor there, shows a setback of 38.91 feet. If the applicant's asking for 10 feet, and then the house on the other side is 4911, it's not going to be seen as a bump out onto the street when you drive either direction on the street. It's just going to show a more gradual type of change, I think.
I think that's frontage.
That's the frontage. Yeah.
It's actually the side yard for that
So-
house next door, but still
Okay.
Where it presents to the main road to Alden, it looks like a front. So,
Well, yeah, that's the way it appeared.
but to your point, it won't be.
But I don't think
sticking
it's going to make a great difference having driven on the street, and there are some variations on setbacks. It's another case where, you know, the builder and the owner are trying to solve a practical problem the best way they can.
Yeah, I thought the same thing when I saw the house next door. It is a side yard, but it does stick out a bit more, and appreciate the neighbor's comments that it's very different from what was there before, but it does meet code, and as Director Groh advised us, that's the side yards are not something that we're looking at tonight. So, comments? Okay, if you could please call the roll.
Mr. Mackey,
Yes.
Ms. Glotno,
Yes.
Mr. Papato,
Yes.
Mr. Emmons.
Yes.
Okay, all right, your variance request is passed. Okay. Any other communications? Okay, all right, meeting is adjourned at 8:13.